This hour, Australia, Canada, and the UK High Commissions in Ghana join forces to combat visa fraud, which continues to hamper consular services in the country. Also, Ghana Armed Forces to open 8 sub-centers across 5 military locations for the resumption of screening for prospective military personnel after last week's disaster stampede.
Plus, Tamale Metropolitan Assembly embarks on a major decongestion exercise in Tamale's Central Business District. Welcome to a brand new week of News Central. I'm Kemini Amanor.
And I am Mawuena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Now, over 1,500 visa applicants used fraudulent means to apply for visas to the UK in 2024. The numbers, according to the UK High Commissioner, reveals a growing threat requiring urgent fixing. The development has prompted the High Commissions of Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom to embark on a week-long sensitization and education campaign to help tackle the challenge. The 3 commissions, in a joint statement, reiterated their commitment to protecting genuine applicants and ensuring that visa processes remain transparent. And let's try and walk you through exactly what is captured in that joint statement, most notably what the UK High Commissioner, Dr. Christian Rogue, had to say on this in relation to the numbers. And this is what he said, that in 2024, 1,632 applicants from Ghana used fraudulent means when applying for UK visas. While that represents only 4% of all Ghanaian applicants, it is still far too many people misled by agents into taking an action that resulted in a 10-year visa ban. Fraud is never worth the risk. Now, these are the numbers in relation to the UK alone. If you want to do an extrapolation, what will be the numbers when we consider the US, Australia, Canada, and other agencies or other countries where persons or Ghanaians are actively seeking visas for some stay? Let's speak to fraud and security consultant Richard Kumado. He's joining us via the phones this afternoon for a quick chat. Mr. Kumado, I appreciate you joining us. So to have the High Commissions come out to speak on these matters would suggest a problem on our hands. First, many will ask, how come this has not been flagged by any of our authorities, prompting investigations and attempts to deal with it head on?
Definitely, I have been part of some teams, or I know some agencies in town who does the background checks or investigations for some of the embassies in Ghana. And the numbers are going up. Some visa racketeering activities and some agencies are duping a lot of people. Then they are also getting flags of some of the documents being submitted. I believe that is why they will want to educate the general public and create awareness, because sometimes lack of awareness may also lead genuine people who want the applications and the money that gets involved in terms of the visa application fees. So police is predominant, because when fraudulent documents are identified and they ban the applicants, these matters are reported to the Ghana police. And the Ghana police will want to investigate and get the perpetrators apprehended. I think that in terms of sanctioning and in terms of punitive action, if agents are identified, then they should be sanctioned. as much as we want to sanction or ban the individual applicants for 5 years or 10 years, because they are registered agents in Ghana who facilitate visa application processes for these individuals. And that is where the fraud is coming from predominantly.
And it's important you mention, or it's good that you mention these agents as well. What role are they supposed to be playing in all of this? Because they have the registered members, they are facilitating the travel and getting people's documents and the likes. If investigations, like you mentioned, the Ghana Police Service should kickstart, shouldn't we be zeroing in or narrowing on these agents?
Definitely yes, because people are afraid to apply for visa directly. They are either naive or they are uneducated in that regard. So you have agents who collect huge sums of money from them and they put in the documents. And sometimes they don't even know the documents they are putting in. Then you also have a group of people who have deep connections within government, not NDC government or NPP government, but all our governments. And they travel with government agencies and they change applications and change titles for certain people. And this informs the reason why in one of the travels abroad recently by the president, there was a directive from the presidency that there will be a limited number of people who will travel. And Mawuena, we are going to have a World Cup next year. Strategically, these agencies or these embassies are raising the alarm now, and they are flashing out the red flag and to set as a warning to people who will want to take advantage of next year's World Cup and due people or apply for wrong documentations and they wouldn't get a visa. So it's good it's coming up early. We will all help in the education and the public awareness. But I think Ghana Police, the CID block, the IGP and the Foreign Ministry must also issue some level of documents or some statements to that regard, because the ramifications are huge and people might not even be aware.
We've spoken about the high commissions. Which agency outside of perhaps these agents and travel groups should be leading the charge as well in the education that is required to ensure people do not fall to these fraudulent schemes?
The visa section. When you take the UK, for instance, they have people in UK who come to review the visa applications all over the world. And they look at the reasons given for refusing people. The America does it as well. Some other agencies or embassies does it as well. So sometimes they also have a regime of accountability and responsibility that they will not just deny people visa, and you have the opportunity to reapply or appeal your refusal. But if it is determined that you use fraudulent documents, then that is huge. But I think the section within the embassies and the High Commission definitely is going to be the visa section, or they may outsource that responsibility to some other agency to do it for them. Above all, public education, awareness creation, prosecution of some of these agencies who do people and collect huge sums of them will be the way forward, and that is going to sanctify the system.
Right then, Mr. Kumado, we'll leave it here, but I appreciate you, as always, coming through for us this afternoon on the latest in relation to this particular subject matter. But that's Kemini. She's going next because there's quite some development on the front of the armed forces recruitment.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's get on with that now. The Ghana Armed Forces says the suspended 2025-2026 recruitment exercise in the Greater Accra region will resume this Thursday, November 20th. The exercise was halted last week after a deadly stampede that claimed several lives. This time, the Armed Forces is rolling out new safety measures to prevent overcrowding. Screening will no longer be done at a single point. Instead, it has been expanded to 8 sub-centers across 5 military locations. These locations include 2 centers at the El-Wak Stadium, 2 at the Nicholson Park in Bemakam, the Air Force Base also in Bemakam, and 2 more at Tradok in Teshi. And the Eastern Naval Command also in Tema. Qualified applicants will be processed in batches of 600. Each person will receive a text message with details of their reporting time and date, batch number, and designated center. The Armed Forces is encouraging applicants to also keep checking the recruitment portal for updates. Mutaru Mukhtar is a security analyst. We'll have a quick chat on the back of this. Mutaru, I appreciate your time this afternoon, but an inquiry now we know from that statement is underway. New modalities have also been put in place as far as the recruitment process is concerned. Does this satisfy you?
Well, I mean, it's welcoming that we are seeing the new measures put in place to not only address the potential challenge of having mass recruitment exercises at crowded locations that lead to potential situations like we've had last week. But of course, it acknowledges the reality of the fact that in this day and age, we need to be very deliberate about the use of technology and digital technology generally in addressing situations like this. This is something clearly we should have been doing from the beginning. In this day and age, it is, unfortunate that we bypass or put away important technological tools intended to address problems like this and go for, manual processes in dealing with recruitment. And so I think that this is welcoming. But we need to go beyond just that to look at the specific details relating to these new measures that are being put in place to address the challenge and the challenges relating to the recruitment. And I think that beyond, opening of new centers, we need to be very, very deliberate and specific about the numbers we're looking at each center. Very, very deliberate about specific numbers we're looking at the several days during which this recruitment will take place to ensure that we do not record any situation of accidents or discomfort relating to the recruitment exercise.
I see. And so today, as you know, we know now, we have a fair idea of how the recruitment process will resume at these 8 centers. What are your expectations as far as the orderliness of the process is concerned, not only for the armed forces, but also for the potential recruits as well?
Well, my expectation is that the potential recruits will turn up in their numbers in terms of the places where they've been allocated. My expectation is that people will generally comport themselves. Even with these new measures, we need to have enough cooperation from all actors involved, including the officials involved in the exercise, as well as the recruits that are put in place. I mean, that are looking to get recruited into the system. There are challenges often, associated with technology itself. So there's potential that some of these things, they could be breakdown in terms of technology functioning. All of those have to be taken into account in deploying these new measures that have been outlined in the Ghana Armed Forces statement. So I think that at the moment, we all have to support the measures that have been put in place, but also insist that they must be duly followed and ensure that they are robust enough to accommodate the recruitment exercises that are being outlined.
And finally, Mukhtar, let's talk about that Bureau of Inquiry investigations, right? The statement reiterates the efforts to probe how events unfolded on that fateful day. What are your expectations? What do you also think about the changes that have been made since the incident?
Sorry, I didn't get the question right. Did you mean the inquiry? Relating to...
Yes. Mukhtar, I'm asking about the investigations, which the statement that was released today reiterates. What are your expectations of this inquiry?
Well, I think the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ministry of Defense owe Ghanaians a duty and an obligation to produce an investigative outcome that is satisfactory, that deepens the goodwill Ghanaians have of the armed forces. We need to ensure, what our expectation is, that the armed forces produce an outcome that appears, to have the same goodwill that we all expect of the armed forces to have. We want to see that the outcome reflects what actually happened on the ground. We saw images of happening during the process, and we saw what appeared to have been wrong in the process. But of course, the investigations were established the reality of the actions in terms of the processes, the planning that went into it, in terms of the happenings on the day, and in terms of the measures that have been put in place. Well, we'll be looking at or expecting to see what kind of crowd control measures were deployed and who was in charge and how were discharged at the time. And so, I mean, we have very high expectations of the armed forces in terms of these investigations.
Very well, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Mukhtar Mumuni is a security analyst. We've just been looking at the new developments to do with the recruitment exercise into the Ghana Armed Forces.
Let's take you to Tamale right now, because the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly has today embarked on a major decongestion exercise in Tamale Central Business District to ease the traffic congestion and restore order in the area. This comes less than 24 hours after TV3 aired a story about a failed attempt at decongesting the city in July this year. Unauthorized lorry parks and stations, as well as training activities, were brought to a halt following the second decongestion exercise. The exercise, which is the second in 5 months, started as early as 6 a.m. with a joint task force comprising military and police personnel, city guards, traditional leaders, and assembly staff. Major areas, including the Central Market, Abu and the main taxi station, were affected. Christopher Mwaku followed through on the exercise. Let's connect with him right now and get a bit more in terms of the details. He's joining us via Zoom this afternoon. Chris has joined us. Chris, you were there. You monitored the exercise. Talk to us as to how it went and whether or not there was compliance from the traders and the other individuals affected.
Yes, so Mawuena, earlier there were resistance from the traders and other motorists at the Central Business District in Tamale earlier today, because according to them, that is the only place they can go do their business to also be able to feed their families. According to them as well, the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly has not made provisions of a space that they can move to. And so the only place they can go and transact their business is around the Central Business District. And for them, if the Tamale Metro Assembly wants them to relocate, it means that the Assembly should provide a place or space for them to be able to go to and transact their businesses. Let's take a listen to what some of the concerned traders have been saying.
Our problem is when you are in Tamale, may you come to Tamale, sit nearby the youth so that you and the youth can talk. As another one I'm talking, they say Tamale Chup, but not the Tamale's foods dealers or the market sellers. I can assure you, you take from Azoka Place to MTN office, that is the road one double road. But the way they are building and the petrol center, it can never do that. And the many people follow them, but they will not see. And then secondly, when you come to the STC yard there, before car will from STC yard come out, people will stand there more than 30 minutes before the car enter or the car come out before people can go. You understand? Now, Tama is growing. Many cars are enter. People they down. But I don't know why. Always when they come, they say market sellers. And the representatives in Tamale too, they don't learn their things. They don't call the million and ask them, oh, million, where are you going to find prepare distance? Please to the market sellers so that you will push them go there. And then the town to be free. They can't do that. They always sitting on the radio and then TV stations say that they to sack market dealer, the market dealer. Where are you a chief and you don't want people? When you sack people to go house, they should go and chop what? You see, great people and find when you see Tamale here the road all Tamale station, Accra station, Kumasi station, they are all stand on the way. Why not you should find a place and send them to there? If you send station to another place, people will follow them to go because what we are selling is a high things. If you are high no point our thing, you can't buy.
So I'm going to ask you what authorities have been saying in response to the concerns, but that last bit of the soundbite we just heard, help us with a translation of what the market or what the women were saying.
Yes, so basically, Mawuena, they were just lamenting about the actions being taken today by the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly. For them, the assembly has not been fair to them because they do not have anywhere to go and do their trading activities. And so they are pleading with the authorities to, as it were, temper justice with mercy and allow them to continue to do their business. Now, for the city authorities, you know that Mawuena, in July this year, a similar exercise was conducted to clear the central business district. But I must say that it did not yield that much positive result because 2 days after the exercise, the traders were back onto the streets and going about their businesses. And so residents raised several concerns about the impact of the exercise. And so after TV3 re-echoed the concerns of the residents as to how choked the central business district is yesterday, and today the assembly has taken it upon themselves to conduct another exercise. And I must say that as we speak for today, the central business district has been decongested. People are going about their normal duties without any difficulty. But the questions people are asking has to do with the sustainability of this exercise and the protection that will be given to the central business district for people not to throng the streets again to go about their trading activities. Let's take a listen to what the city authorities have been telling us.
Consistent in the point that whether or not alternative is provided, it's wrong for anybody to trade in the street. It's wrong for anybody to trade in the walkways, the pedestrian walkways. Whether or not we find them space, it's wrong for them to trade in the space that we have earmarked, because they are supposed to be pedestrian walkways. They are also supposed to be bicycle lanes. Those other places we named in our correspondence, the overpass, under the overpass, all those ones are forbidden. So it's a different ball game altogether, talking about alternatives. And that's how come we indicate in our communication that there is a complaint desk at the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly. The crime service unit is functional. So anybody with any complaint, reasonable enough to engage us, it is welcome. So some of these inputs, we welcome that, and then going forward, we implement them to ease the pressure on them. We recognize that it's going to introduce some untold pressures on them. Some of them, their livelihood will be affected for the period we're talking about. We admit that. They are our relations. We recognize that. But the good thing is that we are all aiming at improving the city. We're all trying to improve the trade environment in the capital. This is not expected to characterize our central business district as a capital city.
Right then, Chris, thank you very much for the details. But just quickly, they are expecting to have this happen a lot more, this exercise?
Yes, that is what the city authorities are saying. They are saying that the first one, yes, they agree that there were some challenges. That is why they are going about this second one, and they are looking at sustaining it such that the central business district will be decongested for activities to take place. Mawuena, I must also say that if you look at the influx of tricycles in the city, it is one of the major concerns of the city authorities, and they are looking at how to resolving the issues to ease traffic in the central business district.
That's Christopher Marco, is my colleague in the northern region for us, providing details there. We can bring you some other stories right now.
Now, President John Dramani Mahama is set to swear in Justice Paul Bafo Boni as Chief Justice after Parliament gave him majority approval on Thursday. Bafo became acting Chief Justice in April after the suspension of Justice Gertrude Tokonu, who is still litigating her removal as the head of the judiciary. An over 6-hour vetting at the Appointments Committee of Parliament gave Bafo a 163 majority vote as against 69 from the minority NPP, who voted en bloc against the president's nominee. President Mahama will this afternoon swear him in as Ghana's new Chief Justice. Let's look ahead of that event. Komla Kluche is our Jubilee House correspondent. He's joined us for a bit more on the story. Komla, you talk to us. What will today look like? What are the expectations you're picking up from members of the judiciary?
Well, I mean, not much in terms of how swearing-ins have been done in the past. We know in just about some 3 or so weeks back, the president sworn in from appeal court or from judges who were the appeal court. The process will take virtually the same thing, but this time around, it's for the head of the judiciary, the Chief Justice, then who would be sworn in. He has actually sat by to look at various judges who were sworn in, from High Court judges through to Court of Appeal judges, and also some justices of the Supreme Court who were sworn in. The process will be virtually the same. But the main concern that has come from a lot of people, even especially the minority, has to do with the fact that the president has not released the prima facie case that the committees took on to ask the Chief Justice or the ex-Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu. Many believe that it's about time that the president releases the report. Bits and pieces have been thrown out there in the public space, but officially, government has not released that. The expectation from many is to the effect that the president may be releasing the report. Well, that may not be part of how the process will be today, but there's likelihood that the president may touch on bits and the pieces. We are not too sure, but it's quite likely that the president may be touching on it. Another thing also has to do with the fact that the president did talk about some reforms when he was campaigning. When he was sworn in, he equally spoke about reset and also reforming the judiciary. The Chief Justice, who is incoming, Paul Bafo, agrees to a very large extent that reforms are needed. And so the expectation also is to the effect that those reforms will be re-echoed, but he must position himself in the best place to be able to carry out those reforms. Much of it may be a radical one, but as to how it will be playing, we can only watch and see.
I see. Komla, who are we expecting at the swearing-in today?
These swearing-ins are strictly by invitation. He himself, with his spouse, and also his children, and justices of the Supreme Court mostly, they're very close friends and families or relatives of Paul Bafo, JSC, are the ones who are mostly likely to be invited. Then senior government officials are mostly the ones who sit in to witness how the process will be. It's not anything probably so grandiose. There may be some surprises. We do not know who and who will make that list, but invitation to these things are very, very strict. And even the media or the presidential media team are having accordingly told that your identity cards will or must be displayed whilst entering into the banquet hall. And so it's not just anybody at all. Until you have an invitation and you are needed to play a particular role, you are not invited there to the swearing in. And so it will be just one of those same swearing in, but this time around, it is to the head of the judiciary, Justice Paul Bafo, who likely will become the Chief Justice right after 3 p.m.
Indeed, Komla, and just before you go, you talked about the president's transformative agenda for the judiciary. The incoming Chief Justice himself also responded to questions around that during his vetting. How does his own vision for the judiciary align with that of the president?
Well, a host of them, to the extent that he speaks about the fact that, for instance, when it comes to the intake of lawyers or legal education, both him and the government are on the same stretch. And so, to the extent that he tends to collaborate with the Minister for Justice and Attorney General, it likely means that they will be doing the same path. But, I mean, reforming the judiciary is a huge thing that has to be done. We can only wait, but much of it equally, it also depends on the budgetary allocations that will go through the judiciary. If he's able to get substantial amount of money that needs to be able to run the judiciary effectively, then those reforms will now come to play. If it doesn't, we can only see how he'll be able to make that into to effectively operate, because he has very limited time available to him, since he will be retiring anytime soon as well from the judiciary.
Komla Kluche, Presidential Affairs Correspondent, thank you so much for talking to us. You're watching News Central. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you more news. Don't go away.
Many to suffer in silence. This is a story, an untold story of individuals like Rhoda, who, despite being HIV positive, bravely navigate a society that often shuns and ostracizes those living with the virus. Health correspondent Sarah Pencrow has more in this report.
Rhoda's life changed forever when she received the devastating diagnosis. The stigma, fear, and uncertainty about what lay ahead were overwhelming.
When I went to that facility, the nurse who saw my reports went to my school to tell a colleague teacher to be careful about me and that I am HIV positive. So when I come back to the school, they shouldn't get closer to me. They shouldn't allow the students to get close to me. But this lady, I always appreciate her a lot. She's called Madam Grace. The lady kept this to herself. And because of even what the guy told her, she decided to be more close to me. It was just recent, last year, that she disclosed this to me.
The fear of being ostracized by her loved ones kept her silent. But she found love, and together with her husband, they welcomed children who are not carriers of the virus.
I remember when I got married and I got pregnant with my first child, I went to a certain facility to seek for my ANC, and the very first day I got to the facility, 2 nurses were there having a discussion, and the discussion was around a person who just came there and tested positive to HIV, and they were discussing the person's subject. I was able to identify whom they were talking about, because one was directing the friend to where the person stays and another thing. And since we were in the same community, I was able to trace to see the person they were talking about. So I was like, wow, I'm also positive. So what will be my stand after they get to know of my status as well? Meaning they are going to discuss me and who will be the next person to hear about my story. So I left the facility. I decided not to come to the antenatal at all. But on the day of my delivery, I gave them my prophylaxis to be given to my child because I was due for delivery, and then I knew they have to give the prophylaxis to the child. Immediately, the baby comes out. The moment I gave this to the woman, her attitude towards me changed. She now became cold. She wasn't responding to me. So when I started having the contractions and was crying for help, she wasn't coming to me. But lo and behold, there were some student nurses at the facility, and one of them was coming to me. The woman, when I was even, the baby's head was coming out. I felt it, I held it, and saw that the head was coming out. I shouted to them that the baby is coming. She said I should shut up and be there. Which baby is coming? HIV nipa so. Obatete ye wahase. You bedi wachi sabe de say be hwe no ahwe po no bi anya bi mo kwani ho amoyi. And I was scared. I was crying.
Rhoda's story is not unique. Thousands of Ghanaians live with HIV silently, battling stigma and fear. Despite the progress made in Ghana's fight against HIV, stigma remains a significant barrier. Many still view HIV as a moral issue rather than a health condition.
We recognize that one of the biggest barriers to the stigma is even among the health workers who are supposed to provide care to HIV clients. They themselves stigmatize the clients. And so as charity begins at home, we have come up with some training package for healthcare workers. And we have also engaged with other partners like the Nurses and Midwifery Council. And they are now trying to include a course on stigma in their curriculum.
The Ghana AIDS Commission estimates that about 334,000 people are living with HIV in the country. However, only about 151,000 are on treatment, highlighting the need for more support and acceptance. Rhoda has become an advocate for HIV awareness, sharing her story to break the stigma.
I really felt that day that we really need to talk. We really need our voices to be heard, because we can easily die just because of how people perceive persons living with HIV.
As Ghana strives to end AIDS by 2030, it is crucial to address the stigma and discrimination that hinder progress. And yet, the Ghana AIDS Commission appears handicapped with lack of resources to intensify and sustain awareness creation.
We need the resources. we want to end AIDS by 2030. Without a dedicated fund to support all the innovations, all the other interventions, there's no way we'll be able to achieve that result.
It is important to create a society where persons living with HIV feel valued, supported, and empowered to live their lives without fear. Sarah Penkro, TV3 News, Accra.
And you're watching News Central live on TV3. I'm Kemini Amanor. Now, a major sanitation and security concern has taken over the Ayalolo bus station at the Kimbu terminal for almost 10 months now. A group of men claiming to represent the Accra Metropolitan Assembly have occupied sections of the station. Station authorities say repeated attempts to seek clarification from the AMA have yielded no response. Daryl Agbojo visited the terminal and filed this report.
Officials recall 10 months ago, some individuals arrived claiming to be assigned by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to manage portions of the station's operations. The activities have since attracted kayaye, junkies and drug addicts who are now occupying part of the station to help workers offload goods from Togo.
About 10 months ago, when the NDC, new NDC, now coming again, the party boys going around, whatever they see that, okay, this place is an institution or is an organization, who previous government, they have been using their people, they'll just take you or chase you out, then they took over. The same thing happened in Zayalolo terminal area. So when they took over, I put some of them, asked them, you people, where do you come in from? Formally, they say they have been empowered by AMA boss. Later on, they say, okay, they are empowered by assemblyman of this area.
The area has become dirty, with some individuals sleeping, bathing and attending nature school openly around the facility. The situation has also led to a rise in theft, which station officials and drivers say is directly linked to the presence of these unauthorized occupants.
Because of the Togo loads that they were brought to the yard, that brings all these junkie boys and the weed smokers to this yard. And as we are speaking now, you see the dirty, the mess up, they eat themselves, sleep here, stealing, smoking weed, even up to the extent that some of them sleeping with women in the yard, inside the yard here. Our problem is how this business is going on is affecting our daily goods operations. So we are reading that all this Togo business and all that should be end for us to get our smooth operation for BRT Ayalolo, because the yard is purposely for Ayalolo.
During a visit by the news team, a driver at the station, Ofosu Francis, reported his mobile phone missing, blaming the growing presence of suspected drug addicts around the station.
Akromfo no mo disturb we wa too much. Ena no drivers and conductors what do phone to ho here you din be seconds. Ubehu ase de ene de abefa.
The thieves really disturb us a lot. If you leave something there, you won't come back to meet it. I went to forward the bus after my return from Kaswa. Upon my return, I decided to go and eat. Within some few minutes of going to get food, someone got into the bus and stole my belongings.
Authorities at the bus terminal are calling on the Accra Metropolitan Assembly to state their position on the matter and take decisive action to restore order and sanitation at the facility. Now, for many children in Ghana, burn injuries are a common occurrence, often due to unsafe living conditions, a lack of awareness, and inadequate supervision. The Kolebu Teaching Hospital alone records over 1,000 cases of childhood burns yearly, highlighting the need to reduce the incident and ensure that survivors receive the care and support they need to thrive. Sarah Penkro has more in this report.
In Ghana, childhood burn injuries are a harsh reality that many young lives have to endure. Children under 5 years account for majority of all burns, with majority of the cases being hot water burns. For 4-year-old Enoch, a cooking accident turned his life upside down. He accidentally fell off a chair after losing balance and landed into his mother's hot pot of palm nut soup on fire, severely burning parts of his body. The pain he has gone through on his journey to recovery for the past 1 year, according to his mother, cannot be described. 2 weeks ago, he had a surgery on his right arm.
December, now I'm so need to work kitchen captain. And I'll got Kunya.
It happened on the 7th of December, and it hasn't been easy since. We are hopeful he will get better.
Since the incident, her livelihood as a petty trader has been affected, while the cost of treatment overwhelmed the family.
It is not easy. I'm in constant debt. The insurance doesn't do much. It's been difficult.
Safwa Ampon is a deputy chief nursing officer at the burns unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and spoke about burns involving children.
I always say negligence on the part of the parents, because no mother brings a child to the department and say, I was there when it happened. They are always saying that I went somewhere and when I came, my child has went. No mother is, which means our caretakers are not taking good care of our children. And National Health Insurance doesn't take a chunk of the amount. So most of the time, the burden is still on the parents. Like I said, National Health in the burns unit takes care of only accommodation and sanitation. What about the drugs? What about food? And if burns patients are supposed to eat 7 to 9 times a day per our dietitian's plan, how much will it cost a day to even feed a burns patient?
Adults also suffer from burns. Dorothy Kwati, a caterer, suffered from burn injuries while lighting a fire to cook at work using an expired hand sanitizer.
Sanitizer ni efite na ya chile shui. She wawegeze ko make ko ka shelele chu.
It is something we often use even last semester. It was stubbornness. One of our colleagues recommended it. How I am even scared of gas.
The ordeal she has gone through since December last year has been a sufficient deterrent for her and her fellow caterers to stop the dangerous practice.
We normally used rubber to light the fire, but it wasn't fast. Now we've learnt our lesson.
There are only 3 major burn centers in Ghana: the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital, and the Tamale Teaching Hospital.
Kolebu at the end of every year has about 1,000 children that have stayed in the hospital, not people who come and go. And this plunges the family into further poverty after they have seen, to the physical care of the child. You go back home to nothing. If we can do a lot more education, because it's totally preventable, but the education is not reaching far and wide.
The World Health Organization estimates that burn injuries account for 180,000 deaths annually and are the 5th most common cause of non-fatal childhood injuries. Sarah Apenkro, TV3 News, Accra.
That will take us on to our second break for the afternoon. We'll return and take the show home. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Now, finding a school for a toddler has become one of the most stressful parts of raising a young child. It is no longer the simple search it used to be. Now it means comparing fees, weighing curriculum, and trying to figure out whether the colorful classrooms really translate into quality learning. Aisha Yakubu Khalid has more in the following report.
For many first-time parents, every day is another reminder of the high-stakes race to find the right school for their little ones. The search for a good school has become more than a routine checklist. This phase now comes with a mix of anxiety, sacrifice, and tough choices.
Easy thing searching for a school because we don't have databases where you can go searching per location. Okay, which schools are within this place where I live or this place where I work? What are the values of the school? What are the values of the teachers, the proprietor? And how are they grooming these children aside from the basic education that they are teaching them?
Even I was trying to find a school for my son. I went to like a couple of schools around in Tema, and some were really rude, some were nice. And obviously like the environment, like you're looking at, hey, so like where's my child? Because he was one at the time, like where are they going to sleep and everything. And
from international schools that promise world-class curricula to local institutions blending tradition and modern learning, parents are paying more. Fees range from 5,000 to 30,000 cedis a term. But are parents really getting value for money?
No. It seems to me like the fees being charged is based on prestige and past glory. So you have a situation where years before a school may have been doing really well, so they have a name. When you mention, oh, I went to this school, then everybody's like, hey, then what being, oh, you're smart. But the reality on the ground is the quality is not what it used to be.
The pricing there, I don't know if it goes with the dollar, I don't know. It's constantly increasing. And sometimes you look at it like for what they are giving, why don't I just keep him at home and then just homeschool him until he's 6? Then again, I don't really think the rate at which it goes up is commensurate with what actually changes and what they are actually really rendering.
I feel like the school should be like a bit more considerate of parents as well, like because their school fees is not the only thing that we have to sort out as well.
These concerns are common. Parents say the pressure to pick the right school is increasingly becoming intense, especially with schools advertising foreign curricula that do not always reflect the actual teaching happening inside the classroom. Some schools admit they struggle to match expectations, especially when parents judge quality by infrastructure rather than what happens between teacher and child.
a parent comes in and their concern is the number of children in a class and the number of attendants. So all these things add up to the pricing. You need to pay subscription for the international curriculum you are running, and then you need to pay locally. As an international school, you are required to pay more than a local school. So I think most people charge based on this accreditation or subscriptions they need to pay. Me, at times, I'm bothered a bit. I run a school and I hear some school fees and it's just ridiculous.
Experts say the heart of early education lies in skilled teachers and learning through play, and not just branding and infrastructure without strong foundations.
One of the things that we need to understand with early childhood education is that the approach to teaching, the approach to instruction is different from when you are teaching adults, okay? So there's a lot of talk about Montessori system of education. That is the play-based, that is more child-centered. So you need to train the teachers in the Montessori pedagogy and other critical pedagogies that enables the teacher to deliver very well, especially looking at the age of these kids.
Quality education in early childhood especially shouldn't be measured just by the facilities, but by the standards that these schools are setting and how they are developing your child. We are there as regulators. We are there to ensure that the space is safe, okay for everyone, i.e. the learner and the parents. Schools, that especially those that are licensed with us, we ensure that parents are getting value for their money.
The National Schools Inspectorate Authority admits that much more awareness is needed to assist parents in making informed school choices for toddlers.
There is also that element of limited parents' awareness when it comes to early childhood education. I think we will need to debunk the earlier notion where we didn't pay so much attention to the early development of our wards. We are also there to listen to some of these concerns by parents, and we act on these complaints to ensure that at least there is harmony between the parents, learners, and the school community.
In some of the schools, you see a lot of parent control in terms of what goes on with their kids and so on and so forth. Others too are trying to represent anything. And in that case, I think that the parents have the choice to either withdraw their awards or keep them there.
More children are beginning school earlier than before, and the journey to find quality early education remains one of the toughest paths for parents. While schools and regulators insist they are doing their parts, parents say they simply want honesty, consistency, and classrooms where their children can learn and thrive. Aisha Yakubu Khalid, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, the Ministry of Labour, Jobs and Employment has established a Health and Safety Enforcement and Compliance Special Task Force to strengthen the oversight of workplace standards in the Ashanti region. The task force, initiated by Sector Minister Dr. Rashid Pelpo, aims to support the Factory Inspectorate Agency in ensuring employers fully adhere to health and safety laws. Dr. Pelpo stated that the law requires employers in both the public and private sectors to provide safe working conditions and protect health workers.
Into finance, there's something financing that has to be considered. In other words, there's a financial burden on each employer to register their companies and for inspections to be taking place on a yearly basis to make sure the conditions are all into the expected standards. Now, having observed that, I realized that we have a huge country. I made
As Sector Minister Dr. Rashid Pelpo seeking to improve worker health. That's a story for you, a bulletin rather.
Yeah.
This afternoon.
It's all the same.
Well,
same difference.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
I am Mawuena Egbeta.
And I am Kemini Amanor. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Next is the afternoon show. Bye-bye.